Hello everyone, Olive here to talk to you today about Milk and Honey by Rupi Kaur. I really hope I'm saying her name right. Confession time, I read this book as an ebook. I do not like to read ebooks. There is nothing like the smell of a book, the feeling of a book in your hand, the cover of a book. I need to get some coffee up in here. Okay, let's get started. So, this is a spoiler-free zone. I absolutely detest when people ruin the ends of books, movies, TV series. You will see flames shooting out of my head. When I talk about feminism, I want you to know that there are several different kinds of feminism, as I'm sure you're probably aware. At the end of the day, what matters the most to me when any discussion of feminism is had is that feminism is equality. Here we go, Milk and Honey by Rupi Kaur. I went into this book very, very blind. I knew that it was extremely popular because I just saw stacks and stacks of it at Indigo, the biggest bookstore chain here in Toronto. The one thing I did know about this book is that it was poetry. So I really appreciate poetry. I love reading poetry, but I'm not one to seek it out. There are 4 different parts that this book is broken up into: the hurting, the loving, the breaking, and the healing. This book is basically an autobiography of the author. It goes through what she's experienced in such a raw, yet simplistic, yet complex way. And one of the things I love most in writing is when an author is able to give you an idea, portray an idea that is so complex, yet they say it in the simplest way, and try not to sound hokey. They're bearing their soul to you, and your soul can see what theirs is saying. That was probably really hokey. Another thing to make mention about this book is that there are illustrations throughout. So these illustrations are not complex, they're very, very plain, but very meaningful, and they really mirror the way that the writing is. They can be a little bit provocative in the sense of the words that they're portraying, but I really think that is the point. Simplicity can be provocative. So part number 1, the hurting, really talks about Rupi going through traumatic abuse as a child, talks about rape, talks about really difficult father-daughter relationship, and it's really painful to read. Part 2 in Rupi's book is called The Loving. So I am not a romantic person. It wasn't just about loving a significant other, it's also about loving yourself. I think personally I'm just a little disenchanted with dating. We live in an age where there's Tinder. So the third part of Rupi's book is called The Breaking. So this whole section is about a breakup. Not necessarily one particular part of a breakup, but the general feelings you may feel throughout different stages of a breakup. It doesn't go in a chronological, this is how you feel at every stage, but it gives snippets of flashes of emotion you would have during a breakup. And finally, part 4 of Rupi's book is the healing. So this part of the book I find really summarizes the 3 other parts of the book. So it's healing not just in terms of a breakup, but also in trying to find yourself. Who are you as a person? Particularly, Rupi writes a lot about feminism in this book. Who are you as a woman, as a person of color, as a woman who's a person of color, as a young person, as perhaps an older person? She talks a little bit about her mom in the book. So there are many different types of healing, and I find Rupi really pays homage to that, and it's so important that different types of healing are recognized and celebrated. I want to apologize to all the women I have called pretty before I've called them intelligent or brave. This quote really is meaningful to me because I don't think twice about thinking that a woman is beautiful, but I think in calling people beautiful in general, we forget that we think about beauty as a hierarchy. Once I finished reading the book, which did not take too long, I flew through it pretty fast, I googled the author. Who is Rupi Kaur? Number 1, she is from Toronto, so that's pretty exciting because this book has sold very well worldwide. She is known worldwide for her poetry and other visual arts that she does. She was originally born in India and moved to Canada fairly young. But her book and all of her other work is incredibly influenced by her Punjabi culture. So in writing this book, Milk and Honey, she actually does not use any grammar besides periods, as well as apostrophes in certain necessary situations. But because she's going off of the Gormuki script, that script actually only has periods as a form of grammar. Otherwise, there's no capitalization, there's no other punctuation, it's just every letter is treated equally, she says on her website, and there is just such beauty in that simplicity, and it really emphasizes the words that she's saying and the illustrations that are on the page. It's just this beautifully, simplistically complex work of poetry. So on my Goodreads, I rated Milk and Honey a 4 out of 5. I don't quite know why it's not a 5 for me. My assumption is that it's probably because I'm not used to reading poetry necessarily, and also a 5 for me on Goodreads does not happen very often at all. If I rate something a 5, it means I literally want to throw the book at someone's face as they go by, and a book that gets me that excited does not happen all that frequently. Academia has basically ruined me. I am so incredibly critical. Thank you so much for watching my very first personal book review, and happy reading! Feather was super cute in her introductory video showing you her feather t-shirt, but I do not have a t-shirt with olives on it, but I do have olive oil.